Yo, what up? What up, y'all? Hold on one second, actually. Give me a second. Split second. All right, I'm back. Had to take care of something real quick. But we got a couple of things to talk about. A couple of things I need to get off my chest. Yesterday concluded night 2 of SummerSlam. Your boy OMO is back. We got another video, another stream, I should say, specifically. Um, things have been going on. Things have been going on in these streets, and I guess it's time to talk about that shit. A couple of topics we got. We're gonna get to SummerSlam and review that. It's crazy. I was actually supposed to do this stream earlier today, but I had some things I needed to take care of for Kels, and then on top of that, I had to help clean up the house. I had a whole bunch of chores I had to get to, and then I had some errands I had to run. And then I overslept. I actually fell asleep like 2 hours ago, and I set my alarm to wake me up in like 30 minutes so I could do like an hour and a half stream. I did not want to do my stream to coincide with Raw because Raw is actually happening right now. And I don't know if somebody big is returning. I don't know if Roman's having a fucking match for all I know. I have no idea. I doubt that, but I have no idea. But with how predictable and how just boring the shows are these days, I'm assuming there's nothing even going on. I don't really even watch Raw and SmackDown live the way I used to. I used to look at those things as appointment TV, but at this point, I can just watch the fucking clips on YouTube or some shit, or catch up with shit. Oh, Big Cass returned. Okay, cool. I mean, they said he would. He said his thing was like 8-3, so I'm not surprised Big Cass is back. But we're gonna talk about SummerSlam. We're gonna talk about some other things. Triple H made some comments that I want to talk about. Roman Reigns made some comments that we should probably talk about. Russell Westbrook. We're going to review the Spider-Man movie. Yes, there will be spoilers. So I'm not even going to plot around that. There will be spoilers when we're talking about the Spider-Man film. We're going to talk about some other things as well. But those are the main three things that we're going to get into. But let's start things off and talk about SummerSlam. All right. So yesterday concluded SummerSlam night 2. And on the whole, you know, I was seeing some people ask me my opinions on the show, and I just thought it was mid. I thought it was mid. I didn't think it was like a terrible show or anything like that, but I just think at the end of the show, I thought to myself, it could have been such a better card, even considering the hand that they were dealt, right? Randy Orton is back. Kevin Owens is back. Sure, there's no Rhea Ripley. They don't have Becky Lynch right now. Bianca obviously is still gone. But at the end of the day, this is still a great roster, and we're giving matches on this card to people that don't deserve it, or we're underutilizing guys on this card that should be in a better position. On this card, we didn't have Carmelo Hayes. On this card, we didn't have Ilya Dragunov. On this card, we don't have Bronson Reed, obviously because he's injured, so that's fine. And that's not even the person I meant to say. Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker was in a tag match to open up the show with Bronson Reed against Roman Reigns and Jey Uso last year. Braun Breaker was the favorite to win the Royal Rumble earlier this year. And here we are, early August, and Braun Breaker wasn't even on the SummerSlam card. Like, that's the shit I'm really talking about. Meanwhile, we got people on this card like Baron Corbin taking a spot that should have been Carmelo Hayes' spot. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. You keep telling us to build for the future. Hell, the whole point of putting Oba and Brock to main event night 1 was because you know he's the future. If you're so dedicated to the future, why are motherfuckers like Baron Corbin, who's one of the most uncharismatic dudes I've ever fucking seen in wrestling. It seems like a cool guy. I'll see a lot of his interviews, and I've seen clips from his interview with, what was it? Chris Van Vliet. Seemed like a real cool, genuine, down-to-earth, no homo kind of guy. But yet, why is he a guy who's proven that at the end of the day, he's never going to be a top guy, sucks the charisma out of every arena that he's in, and on top of that, just hasn't worked. And in 2 to 3 weeks' notice, he gets a spot on SummerSlam. This was his first match since he's been back. His first match. It rubs me the wrong way is an understatement. It's just flat out ridiculous to me. It's ridiculous. Danhausen even, right? Danhausen, look, I like him. I think he can be funny. I think he can be a real solid part of any roster and any TV show in wrestling when used the right way. But he is getting overexposed. And SummerSlam was the perfect proof of it. I'm not going to say the word buried for Dom because people throw that word around, but I just don't think Dominic is viewed in the same light that he was by WWE even as far back as like 6-7 months ago. You definitely can't tell me they view him the same as when he won the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania last year. Because going out there to job to Danhausen and the mini Hausens and Karl Anthony Towns, it just feels like either something happened behind the scenes that we don't know, and I'm not trying to throw shit like that out there, but I'm just being quite honest. It seems like something either behind the scenes happened that we don't know, or they've just lost faith in Dom. Because I, for the life of me, can't not understand why this is the best they can do with him. And like I said, you're trying to convince us that there's a new era. Every other month, Triple H is talking about new era this and new era that. And we're going to get into some things that Triple H said, because Triple H said some shit that really pissed me off. He said some shit that really pissed me off this weekend, but we'll get to that later. Let's talk about the SummerSlam 2026 card and my thoughts on the overall show. To start things off, let's talk about Liv Morgan versus Io Sky. And I'll say this, that was the opening match of night one. And I got to give Liv Morgan and Io, especially Liv, because, I mean, Io's great. We all know that. But I got to give them their props. Because Liv Morgan went out there and had probably her best match since, I can't remember. Honestly, it's no disrespect. I know a lot of Liv Morgan fans are out there, but this was the best match I've seen Liv Morgan have in a while. I can't remember the last time I watched a Liv Morgan match, and I was like, you know what? That was a really good match. Maybe the match with Sol Ruca after WrestleMania, ironically. I do remember that being a solid match, but I just think the crowd was just so hyped to see Sol Ruca's moves. But no, Liv was going out there and actually balling in this match. Io, of course, I think she was the star of the match. It's wild. I was watching it with Kelsey, right? Me and Kelsey were watching that shit. And Kelsey was really into all the shit Io was doing, to the point that at the end, when Liv when Liv won and retained the title, she was like visibly upset. She was like, wow, what the fuck? Like, Io's the one that was doing all this cool shit. And I'm not trying to say Io carried Liv, but that's just how good Io is, truly. She can go out there and wrestle anybody or anything, and she can give you a great match. And they had a hot opener, I thought, to start off the show. And this was probably a great spot for them, right? Hot crowd. If you don't go last, it's best to go first kind of thing. And they obviously weren't going last. And they went out there and did their thing on the show. At the show, you obviously had your Judgment Day shenanigans with Roxanne and Raquel getting involved. But Liv, for the most part, yes, it wasn't like fully clean because they got involved. But after Io hit the moonsault and took out Roxanne and Raquel, Liv won the match fairly clean, right? Because Liv hit what's the Oblivion. But Io, like, I don't know if she took the move necessarily or she just like bounced off of it, because she like flipped out of it when Liv hit the Oblivion, and then she like kind of tried to charge up, and then Liv hits the code breaker, knocks her back into the other side of the ring, and then Liv hits the not code breaker, she hits the Oblivion on Io and picks up the victory. So to me, right, I thought this was a good match. Now, am I happy with the fact that Liv Morgan retained? No, I still don't think Liv Morgan is somebody that I've been invested in, especially since she's become women's champion or the women's world champion. But a lot of that is the booking. It's not all Liv's fault. This being her first championship defense against the same woman that she faced at Night of Champions in the Queen of the Ring final. It's inexplicable. It makes no sense that this is how you're going to book your women's world champion. That will always be stupid to me. So I'm not going to deny that they've booked her really bad. And if I had it my way, I probably would have put the title on Io. But I say all that, and I know that WWE just doesn't have a good track record with booking women's world championship reigns. I mean, hell, think about it, right? When Jade won the women's championship on SmackDown, she had that title for 100 days or something like that, similar to Liv. And then she defended it once against Jordynne Grace and then lost it to Rhea at WrestleMania this past year. Not past year, but earlier this year. Io Sky, when she was the women's world champion, she did nothing pretty much from WrestleMania up until Evolution when she lost via cash-in from Naomi. So it's not just a Liv Morgan thing. It's this company's thing when it comes to booking these women's champions. And, you know, I don't know where you go from here with Liv. I don't know if Stephanie's clear to return. Hell, maybe Stephanie returns tonight on Raw. I don't know. But, you know, regardless, this was a good match. And shout out to Liv versus Io. I thought they went out there and had a hot opener and delivered. The next match we had on the card was the Usos and Jacob Fatu versus Royce Keys, LA Knight, and Solo Sikoa. Right off the bat, the star of this match was Solo Sikoa. It's so obvious. I mean, it's been obvious for a long time that Solo Sikoa has a great babyface run in him. Like, I truly do believe, I don't want to say world championship material. I don't know, but when you're someone, the sky's the limit for you in this company. But he has a run in him where he could be one of the more popular stars. Like, he's a genuinely charismatic guy, truly. And I think the reason that it's taken so long for people to warm up to him is because they just didn't push him in that direction. They tried to make him this serious character for so long, and they dragged the fuck out of the Wyatt Six storyline. I mean, you just talk about a story that just never ended. Oh my God. That was one of the worst stories of the year last year. Just easily one of the worst. Nothing of interest at all. They tried to make Solo Sikoa this big bad that went out there and called the shots with the black gloves and the red or the black suit, whatever the fuck. And it just didn't work. He's not a like hella serious guy, but even in that role, he had moments where he would joke around. He would do some comedy shit. You know, I'll never forget that segment when him and Jacob, I think they were interrupting a Jey Uso match. And then he put the tickets on his chest. He was like, I got tickets. Like, I can't even do it well because he'll do that shit and he'll be so charismatic with it. You know, Solo is a naturally funny guy. And I think when they let him go out there and show personality, he takes over with it. In the middle of the match, he did the yeet, right? He said, run that shit back. And he started yeeting to troll Jey Uso. And I think Jay's reaction was funny as hell. But Solo, I think he was the star of the match as far as the things he was doing and the reactions he was getting. I think just based off of the reactions alone, you could tell Solo, if they push him the right way as a babyface, which they should, he's going to naturally get over and be one of the more popular people on that SmackDown brand. And they probably need some popular people because at some point, you're going to have to turn Cody. And then you're going to need that void of babyface is filled, and I think Solo could be one of the names that fills that that void. But as far as the match goes, honestly, pretty standard stuff. There was a nice spot though where Jacob, I believe, was going for his round the ring. What was it, like his hip check or some shit like that? And this was a crazy spot for Royce Keys. Royce caught him and like lifted him over in a power slam position over like the barricade. So instead of Jacob hitting the move, Royce just does it in one motion, catches him, and drops him on the concrete. And like, that shit was nuts. I think that was the big spot of the match. That was really good. That really got the crowd going. But regardless, the Usos go in the ring. They hit the splash. Jimmy hits the splash on LA Knight while LA Knight was getting Jey Uso in position to cover. And the Usos then go for the 1D. Solo pulls Jimmy out the ring, and LA Knight hits the BFT on Jay and gets the victory. That shocked me. I did not see LA Knight, not taking the pin. I didn't think they wanted to pin Royce Keys, and I didn't think they wanted to pin Solo. So I thought naturally LA Knight was going to lose and take the pin. I actually thought Solo was going to turn on them. But according to reports, WWE has been pleasantly surprised with the reaction Solo has been getting as a babyface. And they were like, you know what? Let's just keep this shit going. And that's what happened tonight. Solo, LA Knight, and Royce Keys get the victory. And Jey Uso, by the way, I know we don't like to credit him for a lot of shit that he be doing, but he did sell that BFT like crazy. Jey Uso's a pretty good bump guy. He could take a lot of bumps and sell pretty well. So I'll give Jey Uso that. But shout out to LA Knight, shout out to Royce Keys, Solo. I thought this was a solid match. Nothing special, but it was solid. And then post match, I think it was LA Knight and Solo Sikoa. They had like a little hug. So yeah, that was interesting. The next match that we had on the card was Gunther versus Nick Aldis. Now, I was not someone who followed Nick Aldis like when he was in NWA or when he was facing Cody Rhodes and Kurt Angle and all these guys. But from what I was told, when Nick Aldis came out, they did like pretty much his entrance when he was in TNA and NWA, all of that. I can't remember what he called himself. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, you guys. But the nickname, he had a certain nickname. I thought he looked good. You know, he's always kept himself in good shape. But, you know, he went out there. He didn't look like he was too old. He didn't look washed. Didn't look like he didn't belong in the ring. He did great. And Gunther was the perfect opponent for him in this match. He hit like a top rope elbow drop. There was a spot in the match where or consistently in the match, he was going for, I think, what they called the move. I think basically it looked like a clover leaf. And they kept trying to build to the spot, and Gunther kept getting out of it each and every time. Gunther was chopping the shit out of him, you know, typical Gunther style, typical Gunther fashion. But eventually the crowd, you could tell every single time Aldis tried to put him in this clover leaf, and Gunther kept getting out of it. The crowd, they were biting on it over and over and over again. And eventually he did get the move on Gunther, and the crowd actually was up like crazy. It was wild. Like when he finally got the submission on Gunther, the crowd was really into it, and they were really biting into the idea that Gunther could tap out to Nick Aldis, which did not happen. Eventually, Gunther got out of it, put in the sleeper, and then Nick Aldis tapped out, which I think is good. You know, if you're going to put Gunther over in any kind of strong way in this kind of match, having him tap out Nick Aldis probably the right way to go. There was no way Gunther was going to lose this match. I was seeing people say, oh, they should have gave Aldis the win. Aldis succeeded in this moment by having the moment in itself, right? Because after the match, you could tell he was very emotional. You know, he had an interview with Chris Van Vliet the other day, or maybe it was Pete Rosenberg, somebody. I believe it was Chris Van Vliet, though. And he talked about this moment and how he just wanted an opportunity. And I think it was like a 2-minute pause, 2-3-minute pause or something like that, where he didn't even say anything. He was just kind of like sitting there trying to soak everything in, process what he was going to say. And he was really emotional. Like he teared up. And I ain't gonna lie, that shit, like the passion he still obviously has for being a wrestler. Because you got to also remember, the man is married to Mickie James. I don't know how long they've been married. Let me actually look that up. But imagine you're Nick Aldis. Let me look it up first before I say something. But imagine you're Nick Aldis. He's been married to Mickie James since 2015. Since 2015, Mickie James has had appearances for WWE. I believe when she had her... Let me see, because I could have swore she came back to WWE when she was teaming up with Alexa Bliss. So yeah, she returned to WWE in 2016. And she had a run in WWE from 2016 up until 2021. So imagine you're Nick Aldis. For years, you've been trying to get back. Or excuse me, not get back, get into WWE. You married this woman who's a WWE legend. He's probably been backstage numerous times. They've seen him numerous times, and they just didn't want him. They didn't want to sign him. They weren't interested in signing him, right? And then eventually, your wife leaves WWE, and it wasn't even on the best of terms. She leaves WWE. You remember the trash bag situation with Mickie James? That was beyond fucked up. But she leaves WWE, and when she does leave, you don't come in for years, and then they finally bring you in a couple years ago, and they say, hey, but we're not going to have you wrestle. We're going to have you be the GM of SmackDown. And you kind of just got to take the job and thrive in the GM role, because even in that GM role, when they hired him on TV, they've acknowledged the fact that he was a wrestler at one point. And you can see his build. You can tell he's in good shape. That man wants to get in the ring. He's even made it publicly be known, even at the time that he signed, he wasn't retired. And it's been a couple of years since he's had a match, and you could tell like the passion that flowed through him, not only in this match or in this entrance, but in that interview alone. It showed me a lot about how serious he's taken this moment and how much he valued this opportunity. And at the end of the match, when his wife went out there, his kid went out there, and he got a standing ovation, it was great. It was a great moment. I thought this was one of the better moments of SummerSlam this year. So shout out to Nick Aldis and Gunther, of course. I mean, Gunther can go out there and wrestle anybody and have a great match. But I thought for what the storyline was, it was a good story. They wrapped it up. Gunther did his part. Nick Aldis did his part. They had a great moment. And they had one of the better matches on night one of WrestleMania, which isn't saying a whole lot. Or not WrestleMania, SummerSlam, which isn't saying a whole lot, but it's still saying that Nick Aldis is not some scrub. He's not some bum in the ring. He did his thing. He delivered in the ring tonight. But speaking of delivering in the ring, that is not what happened next, as we had Fatal Influence versus Nikki, Brie, and Paige. This is one of those matches that if I did the review right after the show, I would have probably had more smoke for it and remembered a lot more that happened in the match. But I just can't tell you. This was just terrible. This was terrible. This was not good. I'm going to skip to the ending. At the end, JC Jane hits her move I forgot what the fuck it's even called. But she hits her move on Paige, pins Paige, and Fatal Influence wins. And after the match, you could see it from a mile away. Actually, before that, let me rewind. There was a spot earlier in the match where I think JC Jane went for a cannonball on Brie, and Brie was seated on the ring steps outside the ring. And I don't know if it's because of like the way she landed on Brie, or maybe when they threw Brie into the ring steps beforehand, Brie injured her shoulder. But after that moment, Brie was clutching her shoulder like the whole rest of the match. She was pretty limited in what she could do. And I thought it was really weird because they would still do spots with Brie in the match. And I'm like, bro, you got two other women here. It's not like this is a 2-on-2. This is a 3-on-3 6-woman tag. Bro, if you don't go and get Nikki and Paige to pretty much carry the rest of the match, I understand Brie wants to thug it out. Let her thug it out. But nah, man, this ain't it. This ain't it. So that really affected this match. And this match wasn't going to go long anyway, but obviously that injury didn't help. And at the end of the match, they had the post-match beat down because the Bellas turned on Paige. Shocker, right? Didn't see that coming, right? But Nikki attacks Paige, And Brie, I think she threw in like a couple of kicks, but pretty much Nikki did the whole beat down. And Nikki then looks in the camera and says something that's really weird to me, considering the story that they're trying to tell. Nikki says, next time, no, something like, don't take my spot next time or something like that. I'm like, bruh, you gave her the spot. You got injured. And then at WrestleMania, you go out there and you say, hey, I made a call to somebody to come and take my spot and fill in. You brought Paige in to take your spot. So, and I understand heels sometimes don't make sense. They're like psychologically breaking down, whatever. They're having a fucking catastrophe in their head. But that made no sense. That was stupid. I would have thought they would just go with the story of, hey, man, like, we lost the tag titles because of you. I don't know if Paige took the pin, but let's say she did. We lost the tag titles because of you. I was right about to come back, and then we do you a favor teaming up with you to face this group. And then we lose again because of you, because Paige did take the pin. But no, she's talking about next time don't take my spot. I was like, man, this is fucking stupid. It was fucking dumb. The match wasn't good. This was the piss break match before the real main events of the night. And around this time, I definitely did go take a piss. So, mission accomplished. Let's move on to the next match we got. Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk. A lot of mixed reactions I've seen from this match. But I'll say, first and foremost, I thought the match was fine. I thought they went out there and ended up having a good match. But I think the reason that there's such a mixed opinion is, one, a lot of people don't like Cody Rhodes and the run that he's been on. The feud in general has not been good. And there was the fact that they weren't closing the show made me think, or it should have been a dead giveaway, I think pretty much to everybody, that Cody wasn't going heel. And neither was CM Punk. I don't think they would have put that in the mid card or some shit if Cody and Punk were going to do that. And on top of that, I think the beginning of the match, because this is where I have to be honest, the beginning of the match was very plotting, very slow. Punk was selling the knee and the leg, and Cody attacked it. He went after it. On top of that, Punk got pretty gassed fairly early, and there was one of the worst botches I've ever fucking seen. I don't know why Punk is doing this. Punk, you tried a moonsault years ago. For those who don't know, I remember it was in 2013 or 2012, one of those years, when it was in the middle of CM Punk's 434-day reign as champion. He faced John Cena in Boston. They had an excellent match at Night of Champions. That was one of their best matches. I actually think that's probably their most slept-on match because they've had so many great matches, but that was probably their best match that a lot of people don't talk about. Not their best match, but it's a match a lot of people don't talk about. But in the match, Punk attempted a moonsault, and he completely missed. He whiffed John Cena completely. And I'm now watching Punk versus Cody, and when Cody fell to the floor because Cody was going to go for the crossroads off the top rope, I'm watching Punk look back at Cody, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's going to actually do this shit. And I had Night of Champions flashbacks from 2012. And Punk, this one went even worse, and he could have killed Cody Rhodes. I'm so serious. He could have killed this guy. His knee almost smacked Cody Rhodes dead in the eye. What would you have done, Punk, if that shit happened? Because you know that wasn't a planned spot. Punk just on a whim was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. Even the reaction he gave when he did it. That was embarrassing. And then Punk even went for the cover on that shit. And Cody had to wait till 2 to kick out. I mean, that was terrible. That was a horrendous spot. But overall, the match later on, I think it really kicked into full gear. They took apart the announce tables. Punk went for the elbow drop out from the top rope out onto the table. And then he hit his leg, I guess, right? He clipped his leg on the table and he went crashing. Cody went out the way. He moved out the way. And Punk, didn't hit the move. Later on, Cody gets into the ring. And he goes for the Cody Cutter. And he hits Charles Robinson. Lil Nate. That guy can't catch a fucking break. He's always taking bumps. But he hits Lil Nate. He didn't even hit like the cutter on him. I think he just like kind of bumped into him. And then I believe it was I don't think it was Punk that hit the GTS, but I think maybe Cody someone hit some move and ended up throwing Punk out of the ring. And while Punk's out of the ring, you can hear the crowd starting to rise and get up. And Randy Orton pops out of the crowd, comes into the ring, slides in, slithers in, hits the RKO on Cody, winks at the camera, and then gets out of there. And then, obviously, you know, WWE logic, that means the ref's going to come back in, crawl back in, and Punk, he didn't see anything. So even in storyline, Punk did not know that Cody got hit with the RKO. So Punk comes in and then he hits the GTS to Cody, and 1, 2, 3, CM Punk retains the WWE Championship. I was really like back and forth on who I thought was going to win the match. Mainly because I couldn't really tell which angle they were going for really throughout the whole feud. Because on one hand, you got Cody saying he has to beat CM Punk. On the other hand, Punk saying, I'm not going to stab you in the back. I'm going to stab you in the front if I was going to do something like that. And now they've introduced Randy Orton into the mix. And we're going to get into what happened in night 2 with the number 1 contendership match. But I just wonder, did they change plans, or, you know, once Orton got cleared because there were reports about him being injured, did they say, you know what, let's try this Cody and Roman thing again, pull Cody out of the championship picture, and we'll circle back to it? Because you know they're going to go back to Cody and Punk at some point, because I don't think Punk's losing that title until, like, at bare minimum, maybe the Royal Rumble. Maybe the Royal Rumble. I don't see Punk losing that title. I see Heel the Man said Punk vs. Cody was his match of the weekend. I can't agree with that. I thought they had a good match, but I feel like in the beginning it was relatively boring. The crowd, I don't want to say they were silent, but it was pretty low in that crowd. But yeah, I thought overall they had a good match. It really kicked into high gear in the second half of the match. But yeah, there's a reason why they didn't main event the show, considering that they had the Randy Orton run in. And I'll say this about Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. I'm not the most hype on doing another Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes feud. Just because, one, you fuck it up once, you can fuck it up again. I know TKO got involved, but who's to say that TKO doesn't get involved again? Just because it's not WrestleMania? Do y'all think that's why? Because this should have been a slam dunk. It was the easiest layup for a rivalry that WWE could do, considering the history that Cody and considering the history that Cody and Randy Orton have. I mean, just imagine the video packages you could have put together. And considering that those are both two of the best in the business. But yet, they still found a way to fuck it up. They found a way to fuck it up. And it was before Pat McAfee ever got involved. Other than that attack Randy Orton had on Cody Rhodes on SmackDown when he officially turned heel. After that, he had a match with fucking Matt Cardona. After that, they had a brawl where they made the center focus of the brawl Jelly Roll. Please, it wasn't just Pat McAfee that fucked up that feud. WWE did not book that shit well. And I swear, I see Lil Trady, I see what you said. They better not bring in Tom Brady or some bullshit like Tyrese Halliburton in this rivalry. I don't want to see that shit. So my level of excitement, it's not very high for this feud, because what's that shit Zendaya said? Mary Jane said, expect disappointment. So that way, whenever something great happens, it feels better. I can't remember the fucking quote. Someone could tell me the quote in the comment section. I'm sorry. But at the end of the day, this feud, I just don't care anymore about a Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton feud. I'll give it another try and I'll be open to it, I guess. But I just don't care enough to see it. I don't care enough to see it again. I'm sorry. But overall, solid match from Cody and CM Punk. Definitely think it could have been better, though. Definitely think it could have been better. But next on the card, we had Brock Lesnar versus Oba Femi inside Hell in a Cell. I'm going to be honest with y'all, man. This match was disappointing. This was a disappointing match. And this was one of the matches, obviously, I was looking forward to. For those who don't know, I'm a Nigerian. Obviously, you can see OMO. But seeing Oba Femi over the last, 6-7 months has been great, right? Everything from his Royal Rumble appearance up until him beating Brock Lesnar in Hell in a Cell, I've enjoyed every single moment pretty much of this push that he's had, even though I wouldn't say they fucked up with the whole King of the Ring situation and him not getting a championship match, but they clearly see big things in his future, and they don't want to belt him up right now over Roman Reigns, who's having the push right now. They don't want to belt him up over CM Punk, I'm assuming, either. But at the end of the day, it's clear that they see him as the face of the company going forward at some point. Like, he's their guy. Like, from day one, when he had that match with Cody Rhodes at Saturday Night Main Event, while he was still the NXT champion, he's been the guy that they've had googly eyes for. But I have to say, this match, I'm happy that Oba got the main event. I think it's his first time ever getting a main event, like on a PLE in WWE, right? Because he didn't get the main event at WrestleMania. He didn't get it at, Backlash or... Did he main event Night of Champions? No, he didn't. I don't think he did, actually. But my point is, it was great to see him get this spot. But this match was mediocre. This is a mediocre match. I mean, it went about, 10, 11, 12, 13 minutes at most. And I just felt like when the match was over, I was happy that Oba won. But I felt like the Hell in a Cell was not needed for this match. If anything, I actually think the Hell in a Cell would have helped Roman and Seth for their match more than Oba versus Brock. Because they barely even interacted with the Cell, and knowing that just the heat that this feud has had, one, I thought it was warranting of a Hell in a Cell match, right, to blow off the feud. But, you got these two guys that are like these monsters. Why didn't we get some kind of more interaction with the Cell? The most that we had was Oba setting up a table in the corner of the Cell and throwing Brock through the table. We could have got a spot where Oba or Brock go barreling into one of the cage doors and breaks the cage door. I was thinking we would get something like that. Obviously, they're not going to go off the top and pull Undertaker and Mankind. But you could have gave us something. Like, they didn't interact with the cage. They didn't get out of the cage. Like, nothing. Nothing. It was just pretty much finisher spam, suplex. We'll get to the tombstone shit, expose the ring. And that's another thing. When Brock exposed the ring, right? So let me talk about the match. Basically, in the beginning, Brock hit Oba with a couple of suplexes. Oba no-sold them. He even later on hit the fall from grace and Brock kicked out. Brock hit 3 F5s. Oba kicks out. They were just finisher spamming all over the fucking place. Brock gets the chair. Hits Oba, attacks him a couple of times. He even gets the steel steps, attacks Oba a couple of times. And then Brock, after he hits, I think, another set, 2 F5s or some shit like that, he exposes the ring. Like, he pulls off the mat. We see the wooden floors and everything. And this is when the crowd starts going crazy. The crowd start getting into it. And then Brock gets Oba up, gets him in F5 position, right? We're thinking he's going to hit an F5 on the wood. No. He then transitions to putting Oba in the tombstone pile driver position and nails him with the tombstone. And the crowd's starting to pop. They're going crazy for it. And Oba kicks out. Oba kicks out of the tombstone. And then I don't want to say he knows. Yeah, he pretty much no-sold it. He no-sold the tombstone after that. He kicked out and then started, raging up and everything like he was fucking Goku. And then after that, Oba attacks Brock, punches the chair out of Brock's hand because Brock tries to hit him with the chair. And then after Brock gets the chair knocked out of his hand, Oba hits him with the fall from grace on the mat, not the wood, and then he wins. And when the match was over, I was like, man, I felt like that match was starting to get into like that next level. And it was over. Like once Brock hit him with the tombstone, the crowd really started getting into it because sure, they were hitting a bunch of finishers and shit and suplexes and all of that, but the crowd wasn't really feeling it. It wasn't like they were quiet, but it wasn't really having that oomph for a main event of SummerSlam. But honestly, the match was kind of it was whatever to me. It was mid. It was mid. It was a very disappointing match to a rivalry that I've actually enjoyed the first two matches. I liked the WrestleMania match. Great job of establishing Oba out the gate. I liked their Crown Jewel, or not Crown Jewel, I think it was Clash in Paris match. Or Italy. Clash in Italy. I thought that was a solid match. I had no complaints. I would have had Oba win, but I would have had no complaints. And then for this match, for you to put it in Hell in a Cell, I'm thinking, okay, they're going to give them at least 15 to 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes. Brock's going to have his wrestling shoes on. They can't just send them out there to have the exact same match that they've been having, because what's the point of doing the Hell in a Cell stipulation? But no, that's exactly what they did. Finisher spam, finisher spam, finisher spam, suplex, bam, a fall from grace. That's it. Throw in a tombstone on the wood, which was the nod to obviously when he faced Undertaker last time in the Hell in a Cell. And it just makes it feel like, to me, the only reason they did this match is so they could say, oh, Oba defeated Brock Lesnar inside Hell in a Cell. They've been pointing out the fact that Brock's undefeated in Hell in a Cell. Nigga, he's had 2 matches. I don't know where the fuck this thing comes from with them, where they sit there and gas up some shit that doesn't even make any fucking sense. Brock's had 2 matches against the exact same guy in Hell in a Cell. I don't understand how that constitutes as a streak. A streak is going 21-0 and then losing at WrestleMania to Brock. That's a streak, not 2-0. That shit was fucking stupid. For a Hell in a Cell match, especially considering how reserved. Excuse me, my bad, my camera. But yeah, considering how reserved WWE is, considering how reserved WWE is, especially these days, about doing a Hell in a Cell match, I feel like this was one of the weaker ones we've had in a while, right? If you go back over the last like 4-5 years, the Hell in a Cell matches we've gotten have been great, right? Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk, Seth Rollins versus Edge, Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes. We've been getting good to great Hell in a Cell matches, and this one was not good. I didn't like this at all. Let me not say at all. It wasn't terrible. It was mediocre. But the right person won, and that's really, honestly, at the end of the day, that's all I could really ask for from this company. The right guy won. And at the end of the match, Brock got onto the mic, and he was like, hey, I'm the past. Oba is the future. And he put Oba Femi over. And to all the people wondering if this was the last match for Brock Lesnar, I want you guys to really be honest with yourselves. You'll never actually know when the last match for Brock Lesnar is. I guarantee you, we'll actually never know the answer to that question. Because when there's money to be made, Brock will always show up. He'll always be there. Brock doesn't care about some sentimental moment. He doesn't care about that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he didn't like what happened in Minnesota, putting over Oba. He may be fond of Oba. And from what I could tell on TV, he is. But at the end of the day, Brock's not some sentimental guy that says, I have to have my last match in Minnesota, putting over the next face of the WWE. No, that's not true. I don't think Brock cares about that. I don't think he cares about that. Brock will probably be back by Royal Rumble. He'll probably face Gunther at WrestleMania. And I mean, if that's the last match, that's the last match, sure. But Brock just doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who says, I have to have my last match like this, this, and this. He doesn't care about that legacy shit. You guys, for us to think about when Brock's going to retire, he'll retire when he stops making money or when he actually physically cannot do it anymore. And all he has to do is go out there, hit suplexes and F5s. That's it. But very mediocre match that really didn't kick into the high gear until the ending. And on top of that, just didn't go that long. But that was the end of night one. Honestly, this was, as a show for night one, I would say this was not as bad as people said, but I think disappointing in a lot of ways for a lot of people, right? Fatal Influence versus the Bellas and Paige, that was always going to be trash. That was not good. Liv and Io, I thought exceeded expectations. Gunther and Aldis met my expectations. I expected them to go out there and have a solid match, which they did. The Usos, Fatu versus LA Knight and Solo Sikoa, Royce Keys, they had a solid match with some decent moments in it. Cody versus Punk, relatively solid in my opinion, but was disappointing to a lot of people and disappointing to me. And that's why I think a lot of people look at this night and say it wasn't that good. Because the two matches that really had the most hype and most build just did not deliver. They didn't deliver. Oba versus Brock didn't deliver, other than the finish. Did not deliver. And yes, we had a Randy Orton return and Cody versus Punk. But honestly, I could have done without that. I mean, the match it still doesn't change my opinion on how good or bad the match was, because it ain't delivered for me. It ain't delivered for me. It was okay. So for night one, I would probably give it like 5, 6 out of 10. Pretty much. But let's move on to night two. That was just night one. My goodness. Let's move on to night two. So night two kicks off with Finn Balor versus Sami Zayn. The number one contendership match for the undisputed WWE Championship. Aldis starts off the match interrupting before they begin, and he says, hey, it's actually going to be a triple threat match. And who comes out? I was thinking it was going to be Kevin Owens, but it was Gunther. Gunther comes out. And when Gunther comes out, he even shakes Aldis' hand. He laughs. You can tell Sami Zayn, he's just throwing a fit. This motherfucker is furious. He's angry because he was promised a one-on-one match. And of course, they're throwing in Gunther. But if you're really looking at it from a logical perspective, one, Gunther and Aldis, they hashed out their differences, right? I think Triple H told him, because Aldis backstage last night after the show, they did a segment where he handed Triple H a letter of resignation, and Triple H ripped it up and said, no, you're going to stay as the GM. Don't worry about it. You handled your business. Now just don't be biased to Gunther anymore and we'll move on, right? And he's rectifying that because he screwed Gunther over at Saturday Night Main Event. He didn't just screw over Sammy. Obviously, he screwed over Gunther. He hit him with the title. So he's rectifying that by putting Gunther in the match. And if you look at all the times that Gunther has had matches for the WWE Undisputed Championship, he's never lost clean or anything. It's always been some kind of shenanigans, like a ref bump, ref missing his foot under the rope, Sami Zayn bullshitting him on SmackDown. It's always been some kind of shenanigans, which is why Gunther hasn't won it, because, they don't want to ever make Gunther lose clean. So that's been that. But yeah, Gunther gets added to the match. And then Aldis stops in and says, hey, hold on. I didn't say it was just going to be one guy added to the match. He says it's going to be a fatal 4-way. And I immediately knew Kevin Owens is coming out. Because one, last night, or the night prior, I should say, Randy Orton came back. And for those who hadn't been seeing the reports, Dave Meltzer pretty much said that Orton and Kevin Owens were on their way back to the company. And it was going to be fairly soon. And then here we are just a couple days later. Randy Orton comes back on night one, and they're about to announce a mystery participant in the match. And I'm like, oh, it's got to be Kevin Owens. And of course, it was Kevin Owens. And Sammy had this shocked, stunned look on his face. Wasn't angry, wasn't mad, wasn't sad, wasn't crying, wasn't happy, nothing. Just still stunned, no pun intended. Kevin comes in. I actually think he looks in fairly decent shape. I mean, for Kevin Owens. He's slimmed down a little bit. He's got more gray on the beard. And he looked great in the ring. This match didn't go a whole hell of a lot long. Sammy and Kevin Owens, when they did lock up, they hugged, and then they did their punching spots and shit. There was a spot in the match where I believe Gunther had Sammy in the chokehold, the sleeper, excuse me, and then Finn Balor hits the coup de grace on both of them, goes for the pin on Sami Zayn, and Gunther was late as fuck, or maybe not late as fuck. He was like, if the count was 3. Gunther got there at 3.1, and it was noticeable that he got there after the count of 3. But, the ref held up the count a little bit, gave Gunther just enough time to break up the pin. And he didn't even break up the pin by hitting him on the shoulder. He slapped Finn Balor on the head, which if I'm Finn, I'm like, bruh, in kayfabe, why would you move? Why'd you get up? Tolerate that shit. Suck it up. Pause. But yeah, Gunther breaks up the pin. Sammy hits what was it? I'm trying to remember what he did to Kevin Owens. Kevin and Sammy are in the ring, and Sammy hits the Blue Thunder Bomb. Kevin kicks out of it. Then I believe Sammy went for the Haluva kick. Kevin got out the way. Kevin throws him into ropes, and then he hits the stunner on Sami Zayn in the middle of the ring, and he pins him. My takeaways from this match was, 1, I thought it was good. It was a nice little fun match to kick off the show. 2, it definitely could have used more time. That was, I think, the theme of this night. Because Roman and Seth went as long as they did, it's clear that a lot of people in this match, a lot of people on this show, in this card, could have used a little bit more time. This match, and a certain match we'll get to later on, definitely could have used some more time. Think about who you got in there. Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Gunther. This could actually be a main event of a pay-per-view. That's how good of performers these 4 specifically are. And you gave these guys less than 10 minutes? That's kind of wild to me. That's a little wild. I think Finn Balor and Gunther is the direction that they're going to go to next for those two, and I would really love to see that. Balor and Gunther, we've yet to really get a one-on-one match between them. And I would love to see a Finn Balor and Gunther match. They've been teasing that on SmackDown. Gunther's been trolling him, saying, oh, it took me 10 years to get to this spot. That's so sad, yada, yada, laughing in his face. So I would like to see a Gunther and Finn Balor feud. I think that could be really interesting, and they could have some really good matches. So yeah, I thought this was good. And now this positions a couple of things, right? Maybe Sami Zayn's the next opponent for Nick Aldis. Because if we're really being honest, Sammy's been screwed by Nick Aldis twice now. So the whole Sami Zayn, justice for Sammy, he's got a point, and he's going to keep going with that. I could see that that's going to be the direction. I don't know if it's going to be Nick Aldis for sure that he faces or anything, but that'll be the direction for Sammy. In the case of Kevin Owens, we're finally going to get Kevin Owens versus CM Punk, and it's going to be for the undisputed WWE Championship. I'm going to be honest. I think this is time for Kevin Owens to win the title. I don't think you should bring Kevin Owens back, and sure, he won tonight, but have his first feud, he loses. Look, you could have Kevin Owens win the title, and then Punk gets it back. Just have that. But at some point, Kevin Owens has to become champion. He's challenged for the WWE and world titles and lost so many times. He's lost to Roman Reigns so many times. He lost to Cody Rhodes 3 straight times. Come on, at some point, the guy's got to win at least one match. One match. I mean, Drew McIntyre even got a couple weeks reign with the WWE title last year or earlier this year before WrestleMania. You got to give something like that to KO, man. You got to. At some point, eventually fans stop caring, and you're going to kill a lot of his momentum if he just goes out there and loses to CM Punk, maybe even has multiple matches against Punk and loses. Now, I don't know when they're going to have the match. I don't think there's any other pay-per-views for the rest of the month. I can't remember what the next pay-per-view even is, so that's going to be really interesting to see when they do the match. Maybe they'll do it on SmackDown. I don't know if they have a big SmackDown coming up within the next month or two, but I'm hyped to see it. The promos going to be great. They've teased it a couple of times. I think they had a promo together 2-3 years ago. So I'm hyped to see it. I'm actually more hyped to see these two have a match than I was for Cody and CM Punk, especially considering that they were both baby faces. And that's another thing about this. I assume Kevin Owens is gonna be, he's gonna be reacted to like a baby face because the fans just love him. But when we last saw Kevin Owens, sure, he did announce his neck injury, so he went out sympathetic, as a sympathetic figure. But Kevin Owens was a heel. He had just beat the shit out of Sami Zayn in an Elimination Chamber. He did what he did to Randy Orton, and they were going to have their match at WrestleMania. So I'm really confused on if Kevin Owens is going to be a babyface or a heel. Kevin Owens works best as a heel, in my opinion. But I'm intrigued to see how they go about with this. I assume Kevin Owens is going to be a heel, but because he just came back from like an over a year-long hiatus due to injury, I just don't know if the fans are going to boo him. And hey, maybe they'll boo CM Punk over Kevin Owens. I doubt it, but never know. I just love the possibilities, and it's very interesting the directions that they could take this feud in. So yeah. Next on the card, we had, what was next? The interim WWE Women's Championship ladder match. This match was not good, man. I said it, and I think I said it on my stream when I was reviewing or previewing the show. I knew this match was either going to be really bad or surprisingly really good. And this was not, this was bad. This was not a good match. Just clunkiness everywhere. Weird, awkward spots where wrestlers or women could have gotten the championship and they just didn't. There was a spot where Charlotte was literally all alone on the top of the ladder. We've seen this in men's matches too, but I don't know, maybe because the women don't have as much experience as the men in these kind of matches, we don't see usually a lot of spots like that they do, or ladder matches that they have. And Charlotte was just up there, and she clearly could have brought the title down, but she was waiting for Jade to get to her spot. Jade gets in and moves the ladder out the way, and then her and Nia are pulling Charlotte down. And I'm getting scared because, Charlotte has that brace. She tore her ACL a couple years ago. She's been wearing that brace ever since. They pull Charlotte down, and she almost just comes down straight up on her legs. But at the last minute, it looks like they caught her, and then they threw her into a ladder. Tiffany had a spot where she went for a Hurricanrana off the top rope to Lash Legend, but Lash caught her and just dropped her on the ladder. That definitely looked like it hurt. Later on in the match, Tiffany was at the top of the ladder, and Chelsea Green basically comes to the ladder, and they recreate the spot that Chelsea had with Tiffany a couple years ago at Money in the Bank, where Tiffany pushed her off the ladder, and Chelsea went splat into, I think, like 2 tables or some shit. That was crazy. That bump, props to Chelsea Green for taking that. A lot of women would not have taken that bump, but they kind of like paid that moment off in this match when Chelsea pushed Tiffany off the ladder, and Tiffany did a moonsault onto the rest of the women in the outside the ring. So then, Chelsea Green goes up on the ladder, and the crowd is going crazy. They want Chelsea to win this match. They want her to win the match. And of course, that's when the baddies show up. Jade's baddies, Meechin and B-Fab show up, and they stop her from, getting the championship, bringing it down. So then Jade comes into the ring, and she's about to climb up the ladder. And of course, she's taking forever to climb the ladder. And it's getting awkward to the point where it's like, okay, like, just do the spot. So Charlotte comes in. She gets the baddies out of there. She attacks Jade. Her and Jade are going back at it. Tiffany and Lash, they're going at it on the other side of the ladder. And I don't remember how, but like they all kind of like cleared out. they all kind of fell off the ladder at the same time or some shit like that. And Chelsea was already dangling on the ladder from getting beaten down by the baddies. And Chelsea gets up. She rises like the fucking Undertaker. And the crowd's going crazy. They could sense what's about to happen. And Chelsea gets up there and takes down the interim WWE Women's Championship. And I'm happy for her. I'm happy for her. This might be the peak of Chelsea Green in WWE. So all the Chelsea Green fans, myself included, we got to take this W that we have now, because it may be the last one that we're going to get. Truly. It might be. So this was great to see Chelsea Green have this moment. The match sucked. Don't get me wrong. This shit was garbage. But great moment for Chelsea Green. It saved it from being, in my opinion, the worst thing on the show, because we'll get to the worst thing on the show in a bit. But yeah, great moment for Chelsea Green. And I just wonder, because when Chelsea Green eventually gets squashed by Rhea Ripley, because she will get squashed, I wonder if that's going to like retroactively turn people against Rhea with the crowd reactions. And I wonder if WWE is aware of that, and if they're going to have her drop it before she faces Rhea, because obviously they don't want to turn Rhea heel. They like Rhea. They want that. I mean, hell, they did this whole interim shit just to keep the title on Rhea. So it makes me wonder, how long is Chelsea really going to hold that championship? We'll see. But shout out to Chelsea Green. I'm happy for her. And I said it in my video when I did my predictions. If I had it my way, I would have picked Chelsea Green to win the match. And that's what they did. They didn't go the predictable route and give it to Charlotte like I thought they would. And by the way, Jade Cargill. That's all I can say. But let's move on to the next match on the card. A match I want to talk about, because you talk about just fucking niggas over. Trick Williams versus Baron Corbin. Now, let me just start off by saying they really did Carmelo Hayes dirty for this. I've talked about it multiple times. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But to send Carmelo Hayes back to catering on another big WWE PLE like you did at WrestleMania, all for you to have this mediocre ass match that could have been better if it was a triple threat between Trick, Corbin, and Carmelo. Or hell, maybe a foot or four where you throw Ricky Saints in there. But for this, Baron Corbin is a charisma vacuum. He's simply not that good. He's not a great in the ring guy. He doesn't have aura. He doesn't have charisma. He doesn't have much personality. His mic skills are very basic and generic and bland. I don't understand what's so great about this character that they felt the need to do this. But Lil Yachty made his return tonight, and he walked Trick Williams down to the ring. The match was fairly mediocre. You know, Trick does the trick slap. He came out the gates and actually went straight after Baron Corbin, brought the onslaught to him. And one thing that I thought was fucking stupid is that why did Trick take the table out from under the bottom ring? Like that didn't make any sense. I didn't understand that shit at all. Especially considering he's the babyface and he's the champion. I mean, I don't. That made no sense. He did that shit within the first 2-3 minutes of the match. That was ridiculous. I didn't understand that shit at all. But he gets the table. He sets it up outside, obviously to set up the spot that they do later on in the match. Because Baron Corbin later on in the match, he tries to cheat. He tries to get the championship. I think the ref took a bump. If not, the ref was like distracted with something. But Baron Corbin tries to get the championship. And when he gets the championship, Lil Yachty gets onto the apron and he's like, nah, give me that shit back, yada, yada. And, Trick then goes to hit Corbin. Corbin gets out the way, and Corbin accidentally hits Lil Yachty. And Lil Yachty goes bouncing off the table. He didn't go through the table. He bounced off of it and then hit the floor. So much for the table bump they planned. But while Trick is like distraught seeing Lil Yachty out on the floor outside the ring, Corbin still has the championship. He grabs it and he hits Trick Williams in the face. And 1, 2, 3, Baron Corbin has ended Trick Williams' championship reign and has become the United States champion. I don't think you guys heard me. Baron Corbin is the United States champion. I don't know why. Who asked for this? Who the fuck asked for this? And I know the arguments people are going to use. Oh, well, they brought Baron Corbin back. You can't just beat him. Nigga, why'd you even bring him back and put him in this spot in the first place? I have no words. I mean, basically, Trick's not buried or anything. I don't believe that. And essentially, they said that Trick is one of like the favorites to win Money in the Bank this year. So another L for you, LA Knight. You're not getting that briefcase, buddy. But if they want to launch Trick into the main event scene, I think that's a mistake. I do not think Trick is ready for the main event scene yet. And look, I love Trick. I do. I fuck with him. And I think he's gotten over on the main roster, which we'll get to Triple H talking about the value of getting over on the main roster. But Trick has yet to really have that match in WWE yet that's really wowed me. He's yet to have that. You know, he goes out there. I don't think he makes a fool of himself or anything. He's not like botching moves left and right. He's not Jey Uso or anything like that. But he just hasn't had a great match. I mean, he had a match with Sami Zayn when he came to the main roster, right, at WrestleMania for the U.S. title. That match, I don't remember being anything special. They had a rematch at Backlash. I don't remember that match being anything special. He had a couple of matches with Carmelo Hayes that I thought were solid, but I never thought they really got into full gear, especially considering that they always ended in some kind of interference. I think Ilya Dragunov not being able to work with Trick Williams in the middle of this run, like throughout this reign, it's really weird. I thought Ilya and Trick probably had their best match, or excuse me, Trick's best match with anybody on that in NXT was with Ilya Dragunov. So it was always weird to me that Ilya never had a match with Trick Williams throughout that entire US Championship reign. I'm just kind of, I don't think Trick's ready for the main event scene, man. Sure, he's a good promo guy. He's charismatic. He's fun. And maybe if he's in the ring with guys like CM Punk, guys like Cody Rhodes, he's going to naturally get better, which he should. They should elevate guys like that. But I just don't think that Trick as an in-ring performer is where he needs to be yet. And I don't want to see a Jey Uso kind of situation where he gets pushed or put in a spot that he doesn't belong in, and it becomes obvious that he doesn't belong in that spot. Because Trick's one of those guys that could be a world champion one day if he does show that progression. But there's no need to rush that. There's absolutely no need to rush that. I think keeping him in that U.S. title picture or having him do some, other mid-card feuds, programs like Trick versus Gunther. That's a program we could do. Trick versus Finn Balor. That's a program we could do. Trick versus Kevin Owens. That's a program we could do. It doesn't have to be a championship match versus CM Punk or him going to Raw to challenge Roman Reigns. Like, no, it doesn't have to be anything like that. But have him have some secondary feuds. We've lost the art of secondary feuds and mid-card rivalries in WWE these days for both the men and women. That's really how you establish people. Excuse me, I'm sorry. That's how you establish people. Like, I missed the days where on a show like SummerSlam, you had Batista versus John Cena. And it was a non-title match. I miss those days, man. Like, not everything has to be for a championship. And if you want to give him Money in the Bank, I mean, I guess that's fine. But I just feel like you're rushing him into a spot too soon, earlier than you need to. Trick needs to improve in the ring. He does. He needs to, or at least have better opponents to feud with. Because even in a lot of these matches that he's defending the title, it's not like he's going out there getting like 20, 30 minutes or anything. So, yeah. That's my thoughts on that match. Moving on to the next match that we had. Unfortunately, Danhausen versus Dominic Mysterio. My God. What have they done to Dominic Mysterio? What a slap in the face to the Mysterio legacy. What a slap in the face to Triple H. Imagine you're Undertaker, right? I think he's like the lead writer of AAA. You're watching your mega champion. Think about it. Triple H is on the way. You're watching your mega champion go out there and job to Danhausen in a money's on the pole match. I'm not even going to waste your guys' time with a whole breakdown. I mean, we had an El Torito cameo, which El Torito's cool as fuck. Don't get me wrong. Great wrestler. But El Torito hitting hurricanranas on JD McDonough. Minihausen's attacking JD McDonough. They get laid out by Dominic Mysterio. Later, Joe Hendry comes into the match, breaks a guitar off of JD McDonough's back. He then goes to support Danhausen. Danhausen curses Dominic Mysterio when they're both going up on top to get the monies off the pole. I can't believe I just said what I just said. And Danhausen, after he curses him, like the pyro goes off in the corner and Dominic falls, and Danhausen gets the monies off of the pole and wins the match. I'm not even going to address the Danhausen shit, but what have they done to Dominic Mysterio, man? Dominic is somebody that a year ago at WrestleMania won the Intercontinental title, and it had one of the best reactions of the entire weekend. He was the one who, yes, he didn't pin Braun Breaker, but he took the Intercontinental title off of him. And literally, it feels like ever since that moment, that should have been a peak, great highlight moment for his career, he's been just on the downward trajectory. He didn't defend that title for months. He got hurt. They stuck him as Liv Morgan's, side nigga. Not side nigga, excuse me. Roxanne, excuse me, I'm getting it all off. They stuck Roxanne as like his side girl while Liv Morgan was out. She comes back. And it seems like that story is just done. The Finn Balor versus Dom story was a layup for them. A layup. And that feud was just a waste of time. A waste of fucking time. Trey said Dom for Money in the Bank. What kind of build is that? I understand that, people that win Money in the Bank, they usually beat them. But it's like, Dom just lost to Danhausen. He didn't just lose. He lost to a comedy character. Like, this is the equivalent of losing to like the Boogeyman back in the day. And I love the Boogeyman. Don't get me wrong. Very entertaining guy. Even though I was scared as shit of that guy when I was a kid. But this is the equivalent of losing to that. This was ridiculous. This was ridiculous, truly. A ridiculous move. And Dom just, what a fall from grace, man. What a fall from grace. What a fall from grace. Moving on to another match. Penta versus Chad Gable for the Intercontinental title. Good match. Really good match. Considering the time that they had. They only had like 10 to 12 minutes or some shit like that. This didn't even go 15 minutes. And I think in the time they were given, they had a great match. We had some really cool spots. Gable went out there, and like I said, they're trying to get over the clap thing. Even though he has that We Are Charlie Kirk ass theme song. They're trying to get over that clap shit. And, there was a couple people in the crowd that were doing it, but, it still needs some more time to marinate. But he got a great reaction in his hometown, Minneapolis in Minnesota. Penta came out there, had a great entrance. Elite aura. They even said that Penta's had 10 title defenses over his 152 days as champion. And him facing Chad Gable, that would make it his 11th defense. And that's true. I mean, Penta's been having some really kick-ass matches on TV, pay-per-views, matches with Ethan Page, Rusev, Javon Evans. He beat Dom for the title, had that great ladder match, faced Rey Mysterio, Dragon Lee. He's been cooking on Raw. Penta's had a great reign as Intercontinental Champion, but this was the match for Chad Gable. This was do or die for Chad Gable. If Chad Gable did not win this match, it was over. It was over. So they needed this. He needed this. But when Chad Gable comes down to the ring, he actually even hugged his family that was at the front row. His wife, his kids were there. So that was nice to see. Shout out to them for being able to experience this moment with him. We got a couple of nice spots in the match. Penta hit the Penta driver early in the match, and it kind of sucks to see that. Just like, it was a great move. I'm not saying from that perspective, but it kind of sucks to see that like the Penta driver has just become another move in his arsenal. Same thing with like the arm breaker thing that he does. Like that was a move that when he was in Lucha Underground, I believe, like that was like an arm break, like a real arm breaking move. But in WWE, it's just another move. Also because they want to get that the Mexican Destroyer over as his finish. It should be his finish. But you can also still protect these other moves. You can also have these moves mean something. Penta can do a whole bunch of moves. He doesn't have to do these moves in all his matches. But they were trying to tell the story with the shoulder. Chad Gable was saying the shoulder was hurting him. So doing the shoulder breakers, the arm breaker spot, it made sense. We got some German suplexes from Chad Gable. We got some suplexes on the apron. We got a Mexican Destroyer on the apron. Penta pulled him into the ring, and Chad Gable kicks out. Gable eventually puts him into the ankle lock, and when he drops down for the ankle lock on his back and really cinches it in, Penta immediately tapped out. And the crowd went crazy for Chad Gable. It was a great moment, great match. I just wish they went longer. I feel like once Penta hit that Mexican Destroyer on the apron, the crowd was just up. And if you gave them another 5-10 minutes, who knows how great of a match you could have got? Because these guys can work. This is real graps right here. I genuinely felt like they had a better match on Raw for Penta's debut than they did at SummerSlam, which is really weird. But still, really good match. After the match, Chad Gable went on the mic and said his name is Chad Gable and he's from Minneapolis, Minnesota. The crowd went crazy for it. He brought in his family, his wife, his daughters, his parents. And it was a great moment. I see Lil Trady said, fuck TKO for disrupting Gable's celebration with the family with that stupid root beer ad. Yeah. That mug bulldog went into the ring, and I don't know what that was about. Well, I know what. They want to get their bang for their buck for their sponsors, but that was ridiculous. Come on, save that shit for somebody who cares, because it ain't us. Nobody's buying more mugs root beer because they came out at the end of the Chad Gable and Penta match to have him douse himself in some root beer. Whatever. Now, the final match of night 2, the main event of the weekend, Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. I'll start off with, I thought this was a great match. Seth Rollins comes out, and to start off his entrance, we hear the Shield introduction. The whole Sierra, Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta, the Shield. Been a long time since we've heard that, y'all. Been a long time since we've heard that intro. But it wasn't like the full song. It stopped right after that. And then you hear the Burn It Down, and Seth Rollins comes out to his music. Seth came out in this wacky outfit with fucking shoulder pads and shit, looking like a fucking goof. He had the Shield jacket on, but it was white. And then he also had the white Shield like dog's mask that they used to wear, which I thought was really cool. I really did like when they came out to that. I think that's how they came out at WrestleMania 30, which was pretty cool to see. Roman then comes out with his entrance and everything. And I thought they went out there and they had a great match. I mean, Roman, his matches follow a typical formula, right? Like, and I'm not trying to say that Roman's not a good wrestler. All these wrestlers have their own formula to matches, especially on big time shows. But Roman, he's gonna hit his finishers. Maybe he'll let somebody else hit a finisher on him, hit him with a spear. He's great at making these matches feel like a big deal. And that's exactly what he did here tonight, right? Like, Roman hits a buckle bomb, Seth hits a buckle bomb, Roman hits a spear, Seth hits a spear, Rollins hits a stomp, Roman hits a stomp. But yeah, I actually enjoyed the match. I thought they went out there and they had a couple of really good spots and moments. There was a spot in the match where after Roman hits, or I think Seth, what happened? Seth went into the ring. This was yesterday, so I'm really trying to remember. But after Seth gets into the ring, he goes for the buckle bomb on Roman. He hits the buckle bomb, and then he goes for the stomp. Roman moves out the way, and then he hits the buckle bomb, and then he hits the stomp. Close near fall. A lot of near falls. Roman was going for like his rebound spear where he hits the ropes twice. But then Seth catches him with the spear. That's a near fall. Seth bumps into the referee, and then Roman accidentally spears the referee. And while the referee is out, I think Seth hits a stomp on Roman. And by the way, this ref was out for so damn long. It was fucking insane. But Seth hits a stomp on Roman. And after he hits the stomp, Seth then goes to grab a chair. And of course, the Shield chair. We had a bunch of Shield references on in this match, of course. They even hit like some power bombs onto the tables. Like, both of them hit them on each other, right? Roman hit a power bomb, or my bad, a Shield bomb on Seth on one table. And then he tries to go for it on the other table. And then Seth counters and hits Roman with a Shield bomb on the table. But while the ref is knocked out, Rollins goes to get a chair because he's going to hit him with the Shield chair. But he misses, and then Roman catches him with the spear. And while Rollins is trying to get up, in the same spot that he or Roman was when Rollins hit him with the chair. By the way, I just wonder if instead of that spot, if Seth hit Dean Ambrose with that chair, how would they book a lot of these programs? I mean, whatever. Speaking of Dean Ambrose, we even got some Dean Ambrose references in this match. Or my bad, John Moxley references in this match. We got Red Rooster references in this match, referencing their time in FCW together. But we had some Dean Ambrose references where Rollins hit the ropes with the wacky line. I hated that name. They even hit the double arm DDT, or Rollins tried to hit the double arm DDT on Roman. Roman counters, and then he hits the Ambrose move on Rollins. I think that Ambrose called it the paradigm shift or something like that. But when Reigns picks up the chair while the ref is still knocked out, my God, Rollins kind of is starting to expect it. He's starting to expect it. But Roman drops the chair, basically symbolizing, look, I'm over this shit, dude. Like, I'm just ready to beat the shit out of you. I'm ready to win this damn match. And Rollins and Reigns start throwing punches at each other and all of that. And Rollins tries to go for a stomp. Reigns moves out the way, hits a spear. Then he hits another spear, puts Seth Rollins away with the cover. The ref all of a sudden is revived to the ring. Actually, the ref didn't even crawl to the cover. The ref ran in there from outside the ring. It was kind of weird. And Roman Reigns wins. He beats Seth Rollins. And after the match, I thought they had a really nice moment where Roman and Seth go for the fist bump, and they put the mask that Seth Rollins came out to the ring with in the middle. I don't know if that was to symbolize Dean Ambrose not being there, or just to put it there. I don't know, but it was a nice visual, and basically putting a bow on this Shield story that they've been telling over the last couple of years with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. I thought that was a great match. Easily the best match of the weekend for me. I thought they went out there and they stole the show. They tore the house down. They went like 30, 40 minutes, which you're going to get that for Roman Reigns in a SummerSlam, a big time SummerSlam match. It's impossible for these two to have a bad match. It's almost impossible for them not to have a great match. That's just how good they are and how much chemistry they have in the ring. So yeah, SummerSlam, I don't know where they really go from here. Raw is happening, I think, right now. Maybe it's pretty much over now. But I did enjoy the main event for night 2 a hell of a lot more than I enjoyed the main event for night 1. If anything, I really do believe, especially now looking back on it, they should have just put Roman and Seth in the cell instead of Oba and Brock. Honestly, they would have used that shit a whole lot more. SummerSlam to me was mid. It was mediocrity. I mean, you had some really good matches. Don't get me wrong, or really good's a stretch, but you had some good matches. Roman and Seth, like I said, they delivered. They had a great match. But other than their match, I don't think anything else on this card was great. Cody versus Punk, I thought was good, but it wasn't great. It was kind of fell flat in a lot of moments. Oba versus Brock was disappointingly mediocre. Gunther versus Aldis, it exceeded expectations, but it wasn't like a great match or anything. It was good. Liv and Io was good, but it wasn't like a great match. Good opener. Fatal Influence versus the Bellas and Paige. Terrible match. That was not good. Usos and Jacob Fatu versus Royce Keys, LA Knight and Solo. That was okay. It was okay, but it wasn't great or anything. The women's ladder match was trash, despite Chelsea having a great moment. Kevin Owens returned and had a nice hot opener and won. Now we're going to get Kevin Owens versus CM Punk, but that match went like 5, 6, 7 minutes. That match didn't go long. It wasn't great. Don't even get me fucking started on Dominic versus Danhausen again. Trick and Baron Corbin was bland. Penta versus Gable was a really good match, but they only went out there for 10 minutes. So, I don't know, man. I'm going to say it was mid. I'm not going to say it was garbage or trash, but definitely left some meat on that damn bone. But it's all right. We move. SummerSlam was what it was. But we're not done with WWE news, man, because I got some shit to fucking say, and I'm going to keep baking this bald fraud every single time he has a quote or a comment that's fucking stupid. I'm going to keep doing it. Here it is right here. So Triple H had a quote where they asked him about the comments that Damian Priest made about the same couple of people being on top. So here it is right here. Paul Triple H Levesque was asked about a comment Damian Priest made recently. Excuse me, I'll move myself. About the same talent being in top spots, and answers the question on how he feels about the current generation of stars going forward and the changing of the guard right now in WWE. This is Triple H's full quote. Look, I get that. If you're the guy that wants to take the spot, it's frustrating when there's guys above you that have the spot. We're in a period of time where there's a lot of top performers in top spots that over time have earned those spots and are selling tickets and are incredibly popular. So you really have to do something. The narrative of it's my turn, I've been here for a while, there's no turns. That's not how it works. You earn the spot. Believe me, if someone's getting over more than somebody else, we'll move that person into the spot and move the other person down. Shut the fuck up. Tell that shit to LA Knight, bruh. But he keeps going. He says, but it's not just that. It's not just that they're getting the loud crowd reaction. Are they going to be good in that spot? Are they going to hold up their end of the bargain? Are they going to screw up if we give it to them? Are they going to make a mistake that we regret? Those are all things factored in. Tell that shit to Jey Uso. He keeps botching every fucking big match that you put him in, but you keep putting him in them. Fuck out of here, nigga. You didn't consider that shit when you put the Botch King in a WrestleMania World Heavyweight Championship? Or when he eliminated John Cena in the damn Royal Rumble? I'm so sick of this guy. Whatever. Let's move on. He says, and I love the fact that sometimes talent are like, well, it's frustrating. Great. That means work harder. Get yourself there. Figure it out. Figure out the way. Figure out how it gets done. I've seen a million talents succeed because of what they do, not because of storyline or creative. They gave them the spot. 99% of the time in this business, the person gets over and then they get the push. That's how it works. That's how it's supposed to work. You go and do, excuse me, I'm trying to read it. You go do, then we follow. Okay. You go do, then we follow it. I'm sorry. Because otherwise, most of the time, they'll choke on it if it's not what the fans believe in. Big believer on if you want the spot, go take it. Whenever anybody says, I don't know why I'm not in that spot, well, I don't know. Are you more over than Cody, Roman, Punk, Liv, Io? The people that are in the spot get there. Make those crowd reactions. Whatever you need to make it happen, that's what we're all here to do. I love the mentality because I think it makes people work harder. And if they're not willing to work to get the spot, then you shouldn't have it anyway. What a just condescendingly arrogant comment. Very condescending and arrogant from Triple H. And I think the reason I have to say that is because Triple H, I wouldn't even get into the hypocrisy of his own career and how over he really was without creative support. But regardless of that, I think it's a really ignorant comment for Triple H to say because, or not even ignorant, he knows what he's doing, but it's condescending because on one hand, you're talking about go out there and get yourself over. Didn't Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov get themselves over? SmackDown was the SmackDown that Carmelo Hayes won the United States Championship. That was a double taped show. That was a taped show after Raw was recorded. So imagine those fans had to sit through that garbage episode of Raw, a lot of that garbage episode of SmackDown. And when Carmelo Hayes beat Ilya Dragunov, the crowd went crazy. They went loud as fuck for that moment because they had a great ass match. And that was around the time that Ilya was having great U.S. Championship matches every other night on SmackDown. And Carmelo Hayes then carried the mantle and started doing it. He was getting over. The fans were fucking with him. And what did you do, Triple H? You took him off TV. Because you wanted to throw Sami Zayn, the bigger name, in that spot instead of establishing Carmelo Hayes at WrestleMania with the U.S. Championship against Trick Williams. Get the fuck out of here with that. You're talking about get yourself over. Carmelo Hayes got himself over. And then you're talking about we don't want to make a decision we'll regret putting someone in a spot we don't believe that they could thrive. What about Jey Uso? Did Jey Uso ever feel like a legit top guy to anybody? Hell no, because he botches every fucking match. The fuck is this nigga talking about? That is so dangerously condescending for him to say. Look at Julia. I don't care what opinion you have about Julia, but at the end of the day, she is a perfect example that you can't get over until creative actually backs you. Putting someone on TV is not enough. Putting them in backstage segments over promos actually in the ring ain't enough. Julia was the U.S. champion, and for weeks, she wasn't even wrestling on the show. We were getting more Kiana James moments, more Kiana James promos, more Kiana James matches. Rather than the one she's managing, that's the U.S. champion. What are we talking about here? I'm so tired of this guy. And then you talk about go out and get yourself over. What about LA Knight? I know we beat a dead horse when we say this shit, but I feel like when Triple H says it, he's gaslighting us because you can't tell me LA Knight didn't get himself over. LA Knight, one of the top merchandise sellers in the company. LA Knight gets one of the loudest crowd reactions still, despite y'all booking him so terribly, despite y'all burying this guy at every corner, despite him losing 3 straight Money in the Banks being the final two on that damn ladder. He's still one of the most over people in the company. So why the fuck is he not getting opportunities? Why the fuck isn't he competing for the world title? Why can't he have a world championship reign? Like, what is he talking about? It's like, I think the reason why a lot of people hate Triple H and they ask for Vince McMahon to come back, which is ridiculous. He should not come back. He should never come back. But I think the reason why a lot of people do that is because Vince and Triple H, the differences between them two is just how they relay information to us about their bad booking. Vince never sat there and acted like he was a genius because he was booking cinema. He never had to indulge in his own greatness. He never had to go out there and take credit for great things that he did as the head of creative, because Vince never wanted to be in the spotlight or anything like that. Triple H, on the other hand, he wants to take that credit. And whenever things are going bad, at least Vince is not in the spotlight. Triple H, he wants to be in the spotlight. He keeps himself relevant by putting himself on TV, having interviews, putting his name at the end of the show as an executive producer in the end credits. And it's like he's gaslighting not only the fans, but the roster. He talks about this shit like, if you just go out there and practice, you'll get better. Nigga, this ain't the NFL. This is a TV show. If the creative is not there to support you and back you, you're cooked. And even if you get yourself over in despite of creative, you're still cooked. This company has shown over and over, they don't even like when you get over without their help. Which is why, in my opinion, LA Knight is cooked. He can get all these little minor victories here and there. He'll never be a world champion. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I'm so tired of this guy. I'm so tired of this bald fraud. Just gaslighting us. Gaslighting the fuck out of us. And it's honestly a slap in the face to the roster. It's a slap in the face to everyone on that damn roster trying to get over. We just had a SummerSlam card with Baron fucking Corbin winning a championship. Meanwhile, his fucking partner that he was trying to help elevate NXT, Braun Breaker, right? Remember the dog wolves or whatever the fuck they called them? He wasn't on the show. He wasn't on the damn show. Carmelo Hayes, not on the show. But I guess we had to go get Danhausen, right? Danhausen on the show facing Dominic Mysterio with a whole bunch of midgets around him with the money's on the pole match. That belonged on the card. But we couldn't get Braun Breaker, y'all. We couldn't get Carmelo Hayes, y'all. We couldn't get Ilya Dragunov, y'all. I'm just so fucking over this shit. I'm so over this guy. I'm over it. I'm over him. But let's move on. So I saw this post and this quote about Russell Westbrook that I wanted to talk about. Here it is right here. It says, an NBA scout explains why Russell Westbrook is still unsigned. Of course, this is going to be a fucking anonymous guy because they always like to do that bullshit. The quote says, I wouldn't touch him in a million years. You can't rely on him in terms of what's going to happen. Yeah, he'll have great games, sure, but he can't shoot. He plays in his own way. He's not going to fit into a system. He doesn't really defend. In terms of truly building a winning team, you don't get him on your team. Look, I've had a lot of my gripes with Russell Westbrook throughout his entire career. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like the narrative about Russell Westbrook essentially not even being someone that can contribute to your team. Are we forgetting that just 2 years ago, Russell Westbrook was a part of a team that took the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team that won the NBA championship that year. He was a vital piece on a team that took them 7 games in the conference semifinals. So to act like Russell Westbrook can't contribute to winning, that is a lie. There was a point in time just 2 seasons ago where between him and Jamal Murray, there was a stretch. He was outplaying Jamal Murray. There was a stretch where him and Nikola Jokic were one of the better duos in the league. Russell Westbrook, even at this point in his career, is one of the best guards in the NBA at getting to the rim. Last year, for Russell Westbrook standards, he shot, I'm not going to gas it up. The 3-point percentage, it's fake. He gets left open. I'm not going to even go that far. But even at this point in his career, he's still someone that can bring you some kind of stability to a bench unit as a backup point guard. There are teams out there right now who have starters who are worse than Russell Westbrook. If you're the Houston Rockets, you're really about to run back Fred VanVleet as your backup point guard, or God forbid, your starting point guard alongside Kevin Durant, when in reality, Russell Westbrook could fill that need a whole lot better than Fred VanVleet can, who's coming off of an ACL injury. To sit there and say something like, I wouldn't touch him in a million years. Like, Russell Westbrook is at the point in his career where he should be going out with grace. Not on his ass with motherfuckers sitting there talking about he's not a winning player. You can't win with him. Now, in certain roles, I do believe you can't win with Russell Westbrook. I don't think he can be your best player. Obviously, he can't anymore. I don't think he could be your second or third best player. Obviously. But unless he's staying out the league by choice, if there really are no teams out there that could sign him or want to sign him, I think that's ridiculous. If you're Boston, why are you not going after Russell Westbrook? Adding another level of playmaking is something that team could desperately use. They have shooters all around Russell Westbrook. He adds variety to that offense that they desperately need, but because Jaylen Brown was one of the only players on that team, aside from Jason Tatum, that got to the rim on a team that's just filled with a whole bunch of shooters. Filled with a whole bunch of shooters. And now you lost Jaylen Brown. You brought in another shooter in Paul George, one of the best off-ball players in the league, who has history with Russell Westbrook. We know they can play together very well. Sure, they're both worse than they used to be, but Jason Tatum's the best player on the team. And it's not like you're going anywhere else anytime soon. What other moves you finna make? Russell Westbrook, I think, would be a great pickup for Boston. So to sit there and make the argument that Russell Westbrook can't contribute to winning at this stage, we just saw him do that 2 years ago. Last year, I guess if you want to say blip, sure, because he played with the Sacramento Kings, but overall, he wasn't bad. He still showed he could compete. He still showed he could play at a solid level in the NBA. To sit there and we're sitting here letting this guy just wither away in free agency like this, I don't really like it. Last year, I thought it was one thing because he opted out of his contract. He opted out, so that was on him. It made me think this guy still thinks he could be a legit starter, which is why he went to Sacramento, obviously. So I guess if you don't humble yourself, the league has a funny way of humbling you, and that's a really unfortunate scenario to see Russell Westbrook potentially the ending of his career like this. I don't like it. I definitely think a team like Boston should give him a call. They should. But let's move on. For those who don't know, I'm a big Marvel fan. I'm a big MCU head. And Spider-Man dropped. Spider-Man Brand New Day released on the 31st of July. And I gotta say, I love the movie. I love it. This is probably the best Spider-Man movie since Spider-Man 2. And if we're just talking about quality of movie, I'd probably say it's the best one, live action wise. I think in terms of all the Spider-Man movies, the Miles Morales movies are by far the best. It's not even close to me. But in terms of live action, I would probably take Spider-Man Brand New Day over Homecoming. I would take it over Far From Home. I would take it over No Way Home. I'm obviously taking it over the Amazing Spider-Man movies, Spider-Man 3, and Spider-Man 1. Now, the real debate is between Brand New Day and Spider-Man 2. And I grew up with both of these guys. And I can comfortably say, as a movie, Brand New Day is better than Spider-Man 2. I still like Spider-Man 2. I can go and enjoy it right now. But obviously, it just hasn't aged as well as Brand New Day is probably going to age in the same time period that they've both been out. And I look at Brand New Day, and one thing I love about this movie, obviously John Watts fucking mediocre when it comes to some of the production that he did in the previous movies. The swinging, the interacting with New York. Spider-Man did that. I mean, they literally pull scenes straight out of the panel for this movie. It felt like I was watching the Spider-Man video game in live action form. That's what it felt like I was watching. You know, Spider-Man up in the attic and shit, all of that stuff. The suit, how it looks so handmade. Like, it's very obvious he's actually in the suit. Unlike previous Spider-Man movies where, you know, but unlike previous Spider-Man movies where he's clearly CGI. Like, that was ridiculous. I don't understand that. It's great to see him actually inside the Spider-Man suit. I thought Jean Grey, her being, I wouldn't say, obviously she wasn't the villain, but she was the antagonist of the film. I thought that was a great way to use her. A lot of people, I don't know why they have this mentality that the X-Men are like, all of them are really good people. Jean Grey, let's get something straight. I know this is going to piss some comic book fans off if they hear me say some shit like this. But at the end of the day, Jean Grey is not that cool anyway. Jean Grey is boring. Okay? She's boring as fuck in the movie. She's boring as fuck in the comics. All she is just a tool until she goes Dark Phoenix. And Dark Phoenix, it can be cool. She's strong as fuck. But nothing about her character really moves me. She's boring. She's boring as fuck. And anyone who says she isn't, you're lying to yourself. You're completely lying to yourself if you think she's not boring. She is. But in this movie, they changed a couple of things about her because what she was based off of wasn't really anything of great substance, to say the least. And they added some things that I thought was great for her. Yes, of course. Do I like the fact that she killed somebody? Probably not. I probably wouldn't have put that in there. But that guy could have survived getting hit by that car. He could have. And I like the fact that they used Jean Grey in a way to where they further push the narrative that people that come in contact with Peter, he had this mentality that they're better off without him and he's better off without them. But in reality, Peter, you're actually helping all these people's lives. You're getting them to points of happiness that they wouldn't have got to without you. And I feel like this Spider-Man movie, that's another thing that it touches on. It touches on what it's like to be a guy and a man today in 2026. Right? Every man, at some point in your life, you're going to experience heartbreak of a woman that just don't want you. You not getting your dream girl anymore. Or the quote unquote one that got away. You're going to experience a form of loneliness where you feel like you can't open up to anyone. You're going to lose friends. That's just human nature. If you're not born into like some rich family, struggling financially. That's why Spider-Man is such an easy character to relate to, because he goes through shit that the average person's going through. The motherfucker lives in an attic. This dude has to make his own shit. And that's why I think it was about time that he has a movie like this, because in the other movies, he's kind of always had connections to people that could really bail him out. Even after Iron Man died, he still had Happy Hogan. But now you've stripped all of that away. The dude got curved by Zendaya. He got curved by Mary Jane on that rooftop. I ain't gonna lie. When she said, "I don't even know you," whoo, nigga, I ain't gonna lie. When he went to that party and saw her kissing that dude, I'm gonna tell y'all this right now. I would have gone to the streets and beat the shit out of every nigga that was committing crime. Every nigga that was committing crime, I'd have beat the shit out of them. Hell, if you even look like that nigga that she was kissing, I'd have punched you in the face. My God, man. I ain't gonna hold you. Appreciate you, Kyle Sticks. Yeah, I do plan to get back to the DBZ reviews, by the way. I do plan to get back to that. You covered the Boo saga. But I'm telling y'all right now, if I was that nigga Peter, seeing her kiss that dude, I'd be ready to go beat the shit out of all of New York. that shit would have fucked me up. I even seen somebody say, let me find the tweet. I seen somebody say some shit that really had me fucking laugh my ass off. Spider-Man kissed MJ and she ain't recognize him. He dapped his homie up once and he instantly knew the OG. So basically at the end of the movie, he goes up, gives him, they little elbow handshake and all that shit. And what was it? Like, Ned at first was a little reluctant and shit. But then Ned like got on board and did the whole handshake and shit. And not only did he do that, but then he said Peter in a way that like kind of looked like he like remembered Peter. So that was really interesting. I don't know if he did. I don't think he did, honestly. I think they're going to milk a little bit more time. But I think what Jean did, she kind of like opened the idea for them to get their memories back. So they still have that hole in their memories of Peter that they just can't fill in. But I do think they're going to bring them back together in a natural way. I could see Gwen Stacy getting brought into the Spider-Man 5 movie. They've already greenlit Spider-Man 5, so we're getting that. And I can see them doing the little love triangle for the next movie. But yeah, man, I love Spider-Man Brand New Day. And let me also say this. I didn't want to go here because I ain't trying to disrespect the OGs of Spider-Man. But I'm telling y'all this right now, man. This shit happens all the fucking time. This is how you know a Tom Holland Spider-Man movie is done well. Motherfuckers will post this shit and reminisce. It said people will look you straight in the face and say Tom Holland Spidey are better than this. I quoted it and I said something. I said, you could tell a Tom Holland Spider-Man movie was great when you see Tobey Spider-Man fans crashing out by reminiscing and comparing the two. And I'm telling y'all right now, I swear, Spider-Man has one of the worst fan bases I've ever seen on the internet. Because I've been responding to motherfuckers all week about this shit. Let me show y'all. Shit is fucking insane. My motherfuckers just out here forgetting clear plot things that they addressed in the fucking movie. It's insane. Oh shit, my battery finna die. Hold on 1 second, y'all. So yeah, my bad. I'm back. So what I was saying is, I hate seeing motherfuckers that comment shit like this. Someone said, how will Marvel explain the fact that there's no hospital or staff doctors managed to see Spider-Man's face while he was unmasked at the hospital when they were treating him? And thank God someone quoted it and said, remember when those people were on the train in Spider-Man 2 and they just decided to keep his secret safe because he just saved their fucking lives? We saw how that city reacted to Spider-Man being in critical condition. So why would they expose that? And then on top of that, I even said something. I said something to the effect. Also, they don't know who Peter Parker is. They see his face. They're not going to know who the fuck that is. The spell didn't just work on his friends. It worked on everybody. Some motherfucker also said he thought Supergirl was going to beat out Spider-Man at the box office. I guess I'm officially retiring from guessing box office numbers. Imagine thinking that shit. What made you even think that? What made you think that shit was even a possibility? There was some more shit I responded to. Just idiots. There's some more people that was upset with me about my take about Spider-Man. Fuck them niggas. Somebody said here, so we don't get any explanation how he got all this money to build this shit. And I'm so glad I responded. I said, nigga, Aunt May just died. He could have got life insurance from her. He had stuff from Tony that was left over. He even told Tony in Homecoming, or no, in Civil War, that he was a dumpster diver, which is how he made the web shooters in the first place. And I said, I'm convinced now more than ever that you guys actually either don't watch these movies or just lack basic thinking skills. It's insane to me how stupid people are when it comes to Spider-Man. Spider-Man has some of the worst fans on the internet. People that just love to reminisce on they love to reminisce on the Tobey Maguire movies. They'll sit there and gas up the mediocrity that we saw in the Andrew Garfield movies just because they have a couple of nice, cool camera shots. They love to reminisce on the one or two scenes of Andrew Garfield falling down and the wind going through his suit. And look, I'm not knocking Andrew Garfield. I actually think among all the actors, he's the best actor among him, Tobey, and Tom. But Tom is clearly the best Spider-Man and Peter Parker at this point. He's proved it on numerous occasions. I mean, I see people sit there and the amount of hate that is out there for Far From Home, as if Mysterio wasn't a great villain, as if we didn't get cool fight scenes like when he was fighting all the VFX shit and all the illusions. It's insane to me how many people lie to others and themselves and purposely misunderstand the point of these Spider-Man movies because I don't know what the insecurity you have of another dude being Spider-Man. It's just so weird. It's so fucking weird. And these are grown ass adults. Some of these motherfuckers in their 40s, 35, 40 years old, crashing out because Tom Holland just killed another Spider-Man role. Grow up. Be a man. Be an adult. It's not that fucking serious. Have some critical thinking skills. They don't have to map out every single detail of every single thing in these fucking movies for you to use your common sense. Man, I had to get that rant off because it's crazy to me how stupid motherfuckers get when it comes to superhero shit, especially Spider-Man. The biggest superhero in the world, by the way. He's stamped. This man made $1 billion pretty much at box office for a whole weekend. On the opening weekend, this nigga movie made pretty much $1 billion. He's still him. And all these people that say there's superhero fatigue, no, there's bad superhero movie fatigue. That's what it is. People are not going to go out there and tolerate mediocrity from their superhero films. Are you making these Disney Plus shows about mediocre characters and half-assing it. Nobody's watching your Echo TV series. Nobody is. And even another thing about this movie that I love, right? All the side characters, forget just Jean Grey being a great villain. I love the fact that, you know, how they handled the Punisher and Spider-Man's dynamic, right? The Punisher, right? Frank, I don't know the actor. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Not correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me in the comment section with the name of the actor. But Frank was great. He stole the show in every single scene that he was in. When he needed to get serious, he got serious. He needed to be funny, he was funny. Great dynamic between him and Peter. I loved it. And I love the fact that when he noticed Jean was doing what she was doing to the city, that motherfucker was like, fuck this shit. I'm going to shoot this hoe. I'm shooting this bitch. Oh, Frank was funny as hell in this movie, man. I loved it. I love the dynamic between him and Peter. And I love how, like, you could tell he was holding in some of the trauma that he had from his past, and he was able to relate to Peter in a way when he said, "Bruh, do you think I enjoyed this life? This shit is a fucking death sentence. Look at how I'm living. You keep telling yourself you're happy. You're not happy. Take off that fucking mask already and just be you." Man, I loved it. And I also loved how they handled the Hulk. So many people were crashing out saying that the Hulk was getting nerfed in this movie. How was the Hulk being nerfed? One, when he was Professor Hulk, he was being mind controlled by Jean. That shit broke, and then he turned into Savage Hulk. He almost killed Spider-Man and Frank. What the fuck are you talking about? If Hulk didn't remember that was Peter Parker, I don't know what the fuck, like, he would have killed him. Peter was begging. He was like, please, it's me. I'm your friend. And then to top things off, I was seeing people say, how did the Hulk remember who Peter Parker was? He never met Peter. Nigga, it's like you guys are fucking dumb. Nigga, the Hulk was at the funeral. He was Professor Hulk. Banner and the Hulk mixed together. So the Hulk knows who Peter Parker is. And on top of that, do we have to see these niggas have multiple conversations to know that they know each other? It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me how just idiotic and stupid, and how you motherfuckers that complain online clearly lack critical, just basic thinking skills. You guys are idiots. You guys are idiots. This Spider-Man movie was great. If I could give it a rating, I would give it probably a 9 out of 10. Maybe 8.5 out of 10. I'll settle for 8.5 out of 10. Because I'll say the damage control stuff, it is kind of weird to me that, like, Peter didn't put that together, that they were the villains. Because from the jump, like I was telling Kelsey when we were watching the movie, I was like, bruh, these niggas are obviously the villains. She was like, is it because he's black? I was like, no. I mean, look at the vibe we're getting from them. I feel like Peter should have gone out of his own way earlier on to kind of like put the pieces together with damage control. Like, I thought that was a little weird. But I do like the fact that damage control, it's clear that they're trying to build like the Sentinels, right, for the X-Men. It looks like they're trying to like lead into that. It's gonna be interesting to see that how they get that done. But yeah, I loved the movie. I enjoyed it. 8.5 out of 10. The highest I could go is probably a 9 out of 10. Great movie, great film. But that concludes this video, you guys. Not video. I'm in for Young Mustard mode. That concludes this stream. Appreciate you guys for showing up, showing out. Clips will be out tomorrow. Shorts will be out tomorrow. Reels, everything, the whole shebang out tomorrow. I appreciate you guys for showing up and showing out. This is your boy OMO Speaks, episode, episode 4? Yep, episode 4. I'll see you guys later. Peace.